Hi guys, I hope everyone is doing well and welcome back to another video. I figured that since starting my YouTube channel I haven't actually made a video where I'm playing guitar or doing anything really music related in it. So I thought that for this video I would take the advert that I recreated in my last video, which you can see up here, the Ford Raptor advert. I'm going to take that advert and I'm going to compose some music for it. So I'm going to be talking about the thought process behind some of the musical ideas that I come up with, the gear that I'm going to be using, through to the bit of the mixing and production side of things to create the finished product. So I've got my coffee here, I've got a new Logic session open on my computer. Let's get started. So as you can see here, I've got my Logic session open, and one of the first things I've done is import the video, the advert, into Logic, and that allows me to play the video whilst I'm sort of writing some music, so I can see if the music that I'm coming up with fits to the video. You should be able to see that playing. Yeah, there you go. Also, what I've got is I've got the sound design, as you can see here on my tracks on the left hand side. I've got my sound design. So my sound design is just like hits, my whooshes and engine revs, all that sort of stuff. Should be able to hear that. Yeah, there you go, that's all there. And then below it here where it says original music, that's the original track that I used for my video when I recreated the advert. So it's a track called Tomahawk by a band called Tiger Blood Jewel. Quite a cool name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my BPM counter for the original music that I used, because I want the music that I write to be at the same BPM. And that's because the way the video is edited, it's edited to the music, so scene changes happen, it's kind of in time with the music, so I'll cut on the beat. And if I come up with something that's slower than the original music I used or faster, it's just not going to fit right with the video and it's going to look kind of weird. Let's go to the main section of the song, make sure my BPM counter is on, and hit play. Kind of fluctuates between 119.8 and 120, but I'm just gonna stick to 120. That, like, minute difference, you won't really be able to see that in the finished product with the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing around with some ideas. I've got kind of a bit of a feel of what I want to do with like the desert sort of feel, and where the truck is I'm going to sort of maybe add a bit of a western slide guitar vibe maybe. But yeah, I'm just going to crack on with some ideas and see what I can come up with. The advert isn't very long, so I don't really need like a full sort of 3 minute song. But what I am going to try and do is have defined sections, so like an intro, a middle and an end essentially. So you got like the build up at the start of the advert where the lights are coming on the truck and it's quite quiet and eerie with the thunderstorm in the background. Then you've got like the B-roll of the truck driving fast through the desert and going all over the places where you want it to maybe be a bit heavier. That's the direction I'm looking to take it anyway. So at the moment I'm focusing on the main sort of heavy section. I've got my old my Gibson Les Paul Studio from 1995. It was made on the same day it was my dad's birthday, 5th of February 1995. Obviously he wasn't born then, but yeah, he got the same birthday. Right, so I've recorded the first 8 bars of that sort of main riff. I'm going to record the same part again, but I'm going to pan it left and right, which makes it massive. Rock on. Alright, so it is the next day. So I've got my main theme recorded, and now the idea is to kind of expand on it and build upon it a little bit. I'm just going to add a slide guitar part. I've stacked 2 overdrive pedals for this to kind of give it a bit of a dirty, messy feel. I'm not sort of trying to be perfect with the slide on it. I just wanted to give it that sort of aggressive, raw, bit of a nasty feel to it. This isn't an excuse to cover up my awful slide playing, but I think it has a cool effect, so let's just give it a go. quite like that sort of like fall at the end, where I was sliding out the neck. Probably gonna now work on the outro with like the picture in mind that the Raptor truck is kind of finishing up on the sand dune, so I want something to finish it at the end there. Right, I've got this sort of fat chuggy outro idea. I'm just gonna record it and then you can hear it. What I'm sort of finding the hard thing about this isn't like the technicalities of playing the riff, because it's really slow. I find myself easily like getting ahead of the beat and just making it really groove and sound as like tight and fat and head bobby as possible. It's a bit later in the day. I have recorded the outro section to the song. What I've done, I've left like the first 4 bars just completely open. Anyway, you get the idea. I just didn't want to like over clutter it because I just don't feel like it needs it. Then at the very end, I've just got the hits on like a unison bend. So yeah, just to emphasize that a little bit more, I'm just going to record bass. I'm going to be a typical guitar player playing this bass. Got my pick, I'm ready just to sort of dig in. At the start of the outro. Alright, so I just want to talk a little bit about what I do to the bass guitar part once I have recorded it. So as you can see here on the left hand side, I've got my bass track highlighted, and it looks, that icon there, it looks different to the other two. It's not just like your standard audio track symbol. So what I have done is I have created what is called a track stack. So I have duplicated my original bass part that I recorded another 2 times, so I essentially have 3 bass tracks. As you can see here, I've just highlighted the bass high cut track. Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. I have cut the high frequencies from that part, from that track, as you can see on the EQ here, the equalizer. I've cut the high parts, and then on the bass low cut, you guessed it, I have cut the low frequencies, and then I have a bass distortion track where I haven't messed around with any of the EQ there, but I've just added a bit of distortion to it. But the idea behind cutting the high and the low frequencies is to maintain a consistent bass throughout the whole track. I'm going to get my mix up here, and I'm going to highlight my 3 bass tracks. You should be able to see them there. I have mixed those 3 bass parts to sort of my taste, to how I like the bass to sound. So I've got my distortion track here. I've only got that creeping in, so if I play it, so you can sort of hear that, well, you can hear the distortion on it, but it's not too much. It's kind of a nice blend between the distortion bass sound and the clean bass sound. And all 3 of those bass tracks I put into a track stack, which is my master bass channel. And what I've done to the master bass channel, if you look at the EQ, I've boosted the mid slightly and I've cut quite a lot of the low end because I kind of wanted to keep out of the way of the kick drum. And I have boosted it up slightly at 240 Hz just to sort of help it cut through the mix a little bit. So yeah, that is what I do to the bass to just maintain some consistent low end throughout the whole track. Alright guys, so I'm now starting to work on the intro part of the track. I've kind of written this track backwards, starting with the main section and the outro, then going back to the beginning. For me, I find that like writing like the main theme, the main part of the song first, kind of gives you something to sort of build around. So I'm gonna have a little play around with some ideas on the acoustic and see how I can sort of build it into that big drop for the big heavy riff. So I've got this idea for the intro. I kind of want to emulate a sort of hybrid picking thing, like what you would normally maybe do on a banjo. Quite a tricky finger picking pattern at the speed that I want to do it at anyway. I'll try my best to give you an idea of what I'm aiming for. And then there air dropping into the riff. Right, so I'm gonna start recording the acoustic guitar part. I've only got an SM57 microphone at my disposal. I'm having to like really crank up the gain on my interface to get any form of signal through it, so it's not the most ideal way to be recording acoustic, but I found that it works in the past and I get a nice sound out of it, so that's the main thing really. I'm just going to do a little bit of EQing on the acoustic and add a little bit of reverb to it, and this guitar is quite bottom endy, so I'm going to just brighten it up a little bit. I have recorded another acoustic part. I'm just going to play it to you because it's easier than me trying to describe what I've done. You get the idea. I'm actually really happy with how the intro goes so far. At the moment everything's just sort of one dynamic, and I'm probably going to maybe put a crescendo in there, so gradually getting louder, or maybe even like an EQ sweeper thing. Cut the high frequencies first and then gradually phase them in, so it sounds like it's sort of like building up. But what I've done, I've got my drums highlighted at the bottom here. I go up to this, the automation icon, click on that, and you can see down the bottom here I have added in an automation to the frequencies, to the EQ. So I cut it right down to 310 Hertz and I gradually build it in back to the original 7000 Hertz. So it kind of sounds like the drums are starting underwater and then building up to not being underwater anymore. Anyway, it's easier if you just have a listen. Bulk of the song is pretty much done. Tomorrow I think I'm just going to spend a bit of time just mixing bits and pieces, making it just sound a bit nicer, and hopefully finish it off. Alright, so I have finished the mixing process. I'm not a mixing engineer, so what I've done is pretty minimal I think in the grand scheme of things, and I've just done what I think sounds good and is to my own taste. I guess that's the main thing, you've got to like how it sounds yourself. But I'm not going to go into too much detail about what I've done. I'm very aware that this video is quite long already as it stands, so I'm just going to forward this video straight on to the finished product of my music with the Ford Raptor track advert. I hope you enjoy. So there you go, that was the finished product of the music with the video. I really enjoyed this little project. It's something a little bit different to what I maybe normally do. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. I know it was a bit of a long one, so if you're still here now watching, I really appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Hit like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below as usual. Let me know what you thought of the music, or if there's anything that you maybe would have done differently. I would like to hear your feedback, and as always I shall see you on the next video.